In the age of constant digital exposure, there's a raw power in what remains unsaid. Your unposted moments aren't just gaps in content, they're strategic silences that drive people wild with curiosity. When you choose to keep certain experiences, thoughts or emotions off the public stage, you're not just controlling a narrative, you're creating an invisible force that makes others lean in, desperate to understand. The brick wall you're handing out, it's not about secrecy, it's about selectivity. In a world where oversharing is the default, your calculated restraint becomes the most magnetic statement you can make. It's got people completely off balance, spinning in their own speculation. I do not explain. My silence commands. The chosen ones do not waste breath on those who cannot meet them at their level. They watch as the unworthy collapse under the pressure of their own assumptions, lost in the storm they created for themselves. Your silence bends reality in your favor. It forces the opposition to act first, to expose their weaknesses before you even make a move. They want noise because noise is predictable. It reassures them that they are still in control. But you deny them that comfort. You let them spiral, let them burn in the void of your absence, until they realize too late that the silence was never empty. It was the warning before their fall. They will call it arrogance, but that is only because they have never witnessed restraint wielded as a weapon. Silence is not absence. It is presence concentrated into something sharper, something more potent than they can withstand. It is the pause before the collapse, the inhale before destruction. Those who move recklessly, who grasp for control through noise and spectacle, will always falter first. You, however, do not break formation. You do not respond on command. And when the moment comes, when the weight of your silence has done its work, you will move, not for them, not for recognition, but because the game was already won the moment you chose to say nothing. Drop a comment. I control the battlefield. If your silence forces them to reveal their weaknesses before you even make a move, leaving them exposed and powerless. You are not unseen. You are undetectable. The enemy casts their nets into the void searching, but you are already behind them, above them, beyond them. They rely on patterns, on noise, on predictable movement, but you give them nothing. Their paranoia festers in the silence you leave behind. A silence thick with consequence. Every attempt to trace your path leads them in circles. Every trap they set snaps back against them. The battlefield is already yours, because they cannot fight what they cannot find. Your silence is not retreat. It is controlled disappearance, a precision strike disguised as absence. While others waste energy announcing their next move, you strip them of certainty. They expect resistance, confrontation, a direct clash of force. But you refuse to play by their rules. Instead, you shift the terrain beneath their feet, distort their sense of control, dismantle their confidence before they even recognize the war has begun. Chosen ones do not fight in the open like the desperate. They dissolve from perception, operating in the blind spots of reality, striking only when the damage is absolute. Your boundaries are not walls of fear, but fortresses of wisdom. The chosen ones know that energy is currency, and not all hands deserve the wealth you carry. When you refuse to be drained, the parasites reveal themselves, their agitation proof of their dependence. They push, they guilt, they manipulate, but your silence is louder than their noise. The moment you cut access, they spiral, left to face the emptiness they tried to fill with you. They call it rejection, but it is reflection. The dark forces cannot latch onto what refuses to be touched. You don't grant access just because they demand it. Your energy is a privilege, not a right. If your boundaries are too high, they can build their own. If your silence is too heavy, they can carry their own weight. You owe nothing to those who only take. You do not vanish. You erase the path behind you, leaving nothing for them to follow. The moment you go dark, their world fractures. They scramble, searching for traces, for patterns, for any sign of your next move. but all they find is absence. And that absence is suffocating. They are used to watching, to tracking, to predicting, but you are beyond reach. Every unanswered call, every unreturned glance, every silence is a calculated strike. Their desperation is proof that you were never just another presence. You were the axis they revolved around, and without you, their balance shatters. Your silence is not avoidance, it is precision. Noise is predictable, movement is measurable, but nothingness is a weapon they cannot counter. You force them to play a game where all the rules belong to you. Their attempts to provoke you, to bait you into revealing yourself, only expose their own weaknesses. They expect confrontation, but you grant them nothing. They expect retaliation, but you've already won before they even recognize the battle. When you disappear, it is not retreat. It is the storm gathering before the strike. And by the time they see the lightning, it's already too late. You are not invisible. You are untraceable. Let them chase ghosts. Let them drown in uncertainty. Their fear is not that you are gone. It is that you are everywhere, and they will never know when you choose to resurface. You walk into a space, and the atmosphere shifts. Not because you demand attention, but because your presence is undeniable. Eyes linger too long, energy shifts uncomfortably, and tension rises in ways even the unaware can feel. The magnetic force within you draws people in, some in admiration, others in quiet resentment. They don't understand why they feel the need to watch you, why your existence disrupts their carefully constructed illusions. The dark forces feel it too, and they are not here to admire. They track you, push against you, test the edges of your will, hoping to find a fracture, but they never do. You are a disruptor to their system, an anomaly they cannot predict. Those who operate in lesser vibrations thrive on control, on certainty, on predictable patterns they can manipulate. You do not fit. You are not someone they can overpower, deceive, or mold into compliance. The moment they realize they cannot control you, they attempt to diminish you. They cast doubt, create obstacles, and use every trick to make you question your own power. But chosen ones do not operate on the same frequency as the weak. You do not bow, you do not explain, you do not lower yourself to ease their discomfort. While they waste energy plotting, you continue to rise, untouchable and unmoved. They can't handle the fact that you were chosen. You don't need to prove it. You don't need permission to exist in your power. You just live it, and that alone is enough to shake their entire foundation. Drop a comment. They watch, but can't touch. If you've seen them obsess over your every move, studying you, mimicking you, plotting against you, yet no matter what they do, they remain powerless to reach or stop you. They cast their nets wide, sending out their best operatives to track you, but every lead turns cold before they can grasp it. Their whispers spread through the ranks. Something is wrong. Their usual tactics, their tried and true methods of entrapment, fail against you. They expected resistance, but they did not expect the void. No energy trail to trace, no predictable reactions to exploit, no patterns to decode. You move without sound, without warning, and their entire system crumbles in your absence. The fear sets in, not because you are missing, but because they know you are still out there, unseen and undefeated. Your silence is not stillness, it is the erosion of their certainty. They attempt to lure you out, bait you into reaction, but you do not break formation. They look for your weaknesses, but you have already reinforced every entry point. You have become an enigma they cannot solve, a force that refuses to be quantified. And so they turn on each other, confusion breeding paranoia. Their greatest fear is not losing control. It's realizing they never had any to begin with. The more they chase you, the further they fall into disarray. They are running out of options, out of ideas, out of time. You are not lost. You are simply not on their map. Let them scramble, let them spiral. You never needed to hide. There was never a path for them to follow in the first place. The Obsidian Inner Order is forged for those who relentlessly pursue immortal greatness. This is where apex predators gather, where wolves hunt among wolves. We are the brotherhood of titans who understand that true power isn't given, it's seized, with both hands. Our warriors converge weekly for raw, unfiltered sessions that cut straight to the bone of success. No motivational bullshit, no feel-good fluff. Just battle-hardened wisdom from those who've built empires from the ground up. With over 450 chosen members, these weekly transmissions deliver the exact blueprint for bending reality to your will. Every session is archived in our fortified vault, ready for those hungry enough to devour wisdom at any hour. This isn't about temporary gains. It's about awakening the sleeping giant within. The kind of power that makes the ground shake when you walk. Our private Discord is the sacred ground where real kings forge alliances that shift the tides of fortune. Here, dynasties are born, empires align, and brothers in arms share the kind of knowledge that never sees the light of public forums. When the order assembles, mountains move. The weak watch from the shadows while the strong claim their throne. Your seat at the table of titans awaits. The link is in the description below. You do not shrink to make others comfortable. You do not dilute your power for the fragile or the fearful. You exist outside their expectations, outside their need for control. They demand humility from you, but only because they cannot stand to see what unshaken authority looks like. Your presence disrupts, not because you try to, but because you refuse to be anything less than what you were created to be. The weak call it arrogance, the lost call it delusion. But you owe them no explanation. You were never meant to fit into their world. You were meant to dismantle it. They watch, waiting for you to doubt yourself, to stumble, to seek approval from hands that could never hold your power. But you never do. And that terrifies them. They cannot manipulate what does not seek validation. They cannot control what refuses to submit. When you operate from divine authority, their influence shatters. They speak against you, try to diminish you, twist your confidence into something shameful. But every attack only reveals their own limitations. The chosen do not move through life asking for permission. You do not bow to expectations designed to keep you small. You stand, you reign, you rise. You do not have a superiority complex. You are simply beyond their understanding. You are complex, layered, untamed. Let them misunderstand. Let them seethe. You do not need them to believe in you. You only need to continue. They strain to hear you, desperate for a whisper, a trace of movement, a flicker of presence. But the space where you once stood has become something else entirely, an abyss they cannot cross, a silence too vast to comprehend. They tell themselves, it means nothing that you have faded into irrelevance, yet they cannot look away. The absence gnaws at them, unraveling their certainty thread by thread. They wanted confrontation, but you granted them the unknown, and nothing terrifies them more than what they cannot predict. Your silence is not emptiness. It is pressure, the kind that crushes illusions and exposes hidden fractures. It is the stillness before the collapse, the inhale before the hurricane. They assumed they could force a reaction, pull you into their chaos, bend you into their narrative, but you refuse. You move in silence, and because they cannot track you, they destroy themselves searching for answers. Every moment without your response is a chisel against their foundation, breaking them down while you remain untouchable. They do not understand that chosen ones never announce the strike. The quiet is the attack. You don't need words. You don't need noise. Your absence is the weight pressing down on them, the echo that refuses to fade. Let them spiral. Let them fear the silence. They wanted access to your energy, but all they got was the void swallowing them whole. They search for signs, for breadcrumbs, for any trace of what you're doing, but you leave nothing behind. You don't announce your progress. Don't hand them the privilege of witnessing your rise. And that burns them more than anything. The ones who once felt entitled to your every move now sit in the dark, restless, unsettled. They cycle through theories, hoping to crack the code, but there is no pattern to follow. You move beyond their reach, beyond their comprehension, and in their desperation to figure you out, they reveal their own weakness. Silence is not stagnation, it is strategy. Every step you take in the unseen, every calculated shift made without an audience, fortifies you. The impatient expose themselves, the envious choke on their own assumptions, and the unworthy self-destruct, trying to force an answer from the void you created. They want proof of your power, but you give them nothing. The unknown is what haunts them, the gaps in their knowledge tightening around them like a vice. While they waste energy speculating, you refine your next move in peace, untouched by their distractions. You are not hiding, you are strategizing. While they sit in circles debating your silence, you have already outgrown the version of you they were trying to understand. Let them guess, let them obsess, let them fall behind while you step further into the unseen, securing victory before they even realize the game has started. They used to feast on your presence, drawing from your energy as if it was theirs to consume. Every movement, every word, every glance you offered kept them fed, kept them feeling significant. But now, the table is empty, the doors are locked, and they are left outside, starving. Your silence is not just absence, it is a severance. The ones who were once comfortable orbiting you now find themselves lost in their own emptiness, clawing at the spaces where you used to exist. They don't miss you, they miss the access. And that realization shatters them more than anything. You were their distraction, their entertainment, their measure of significance. The moment you withdrew, their world destabilized. They don't know where to look, what to watch, or who to latch onto next. Your absence forces them to face their own irrelevance, their own lack of substance. They cycle through emotions, confusion, anger, resentment, desperate to pull you back, to provoke a response, to remind themselves they still matter. But you owe them nothing. Their discomfort is not your problem. Their loneliness is not your burden. The chosen ones do not exist for the validation of the insecure. You are not a spectacle for the restless. You are not responsible for their fear of missing out. You do not exist to entertain the lost or to fill the voids they refuse to face. Let them scramble, let them feel the emptiness. Your silence is not cruelty, it is clarity. If they had built their own lives, they wouldn't be so obsessed with yours. Wherever you go, the air shifts. People pause, glancing twice, sensing something they can't explain. You don't need to announce yourself. Your presence does it for you. There's something about you that unsettles, that pulls, that commands attention without a single word. Some are drawn in, magnetized by an energy they can't define. Others feel threatened, disturbed by the weight of something beyond their understanding, but none can ignore it. You exist beyond their grasp, vibrating on a frequency they aren't built to withstand, and that alone keeps their eyes locked on you, waiting, wondering, hoping to decipher the enigma that is your existence. It isn't just confidence. It's something deeper, something woven into the very essence of who you are. The chosen ones radiate a force that disrupts the mundane. People track your movements, not out of curiosity, but out of compulsion. They want to understand why they feel different in your presence, why they second-guess themselves when they stand too close, why their own insecurities rise to the surface the moment they try to measure up. They feel exposed in your silence, as if your very being reveals what they've spent years trying to hide. Your energy forces reflection, and not everyone can handle the mirror you place before them. You don't need validation. You don't need to post, explain, or prove anything. Your aura speaks, and they are already listening. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Stay silent, stay powerful, and let the weight of your presence do what words never could. They mistake your silence for retreat, but you are not retreating, you are recalibrating. While they scramble for your whereabouts, searching for signs, you are deep in the unseen, gathering force like a storm swelling over the horizon. Every moment of stillness is a current of power coiling beneath the surface, waiting, tightening, intensifying. They wanted noise, chaos, movement they could predict, but you give them nothing. And in that nothing, they unravel. The air is thick, with anticipation, the tension stretching taut, and they don't even realize they are standing in the eye of your storm. When the wind finally shifts, it won't be gradual, it will be absolute. They wanted to study you, dissect you, break you into something they could understand, but you operate outside their limits. They think you disappeared, but absence is only a tactic, a strategic withdrawal to charge the next strike. The chosen ones do not waste energy proving their power. They let the silence set the stage. And when the moment arrives, when the charge is complete, there will be no warning, no delay, no escape. The impact will be felt before they even know what hit them. While they watched, while they speculated, while they doubted, you built an energy so undeniable that when it moves, the foundations will crack beneath their feet. You are not gone. You are reloading. Let them talk. Let them panic. Let them cling to the illusion that they still have time. By the time they understand what's coming, it will already be over. You were never meant to blend in. Your presence shifts the atmosphere, your silence shatters illusions, and your power forces the weak to confront their own limitations. Every attempt to control, to diminish, to break you has failed because you do not operate on their frequency. You do not seek validation, you do not explain, and you do not bow. The chosen ones move with purpose, disrupt without effort, and dismantle without warning. Your very existence is a force they cannot contain. Let them speculate, let them spiral, let them wear themselves down trying to decode what was never meant for them. You do not owe them access. Your power is not for entertainment, not for approval, not for them to consume. You exist beyond their comprehension, and that is why they watch. They cannot look away, cannot stop feeling your presence, cannot stop fearing what you will do next. And when you move, when you finally strike, it will be undeniable. You will not need to explain your strength. They will know. Information is currency, but silence is the platinum card of personal power. We live in an era where everyone's broadcasting, but few are truly communicating. Your unshared story isn't just a mystery, it's a thunderbolt waiting to strike. Visualize a landscape where every whispered moment, every unposted fragment carries more weight than 1,000 hollow declarations. Your selective reveal isn't weakness, it's a calculated disruption. While others flood feeds with noise, you're crafting a narrative so potent it vibrates with potential energy. The walls you build aren't meant to block, they're designed to intrigue, to challenge, to make onlookers realize that some stories aren't meant to be consumed, but earned. Each unshared detail becomes a challenge, a silent dare that leaves people recalibrating their entire understanding. Now it's your turn to speak. Share your truth, your experience, your proof that no force can break what was divinely fortified. Let your story be the storm that reminds them exactly who you are.